man who was minding his own business and running in his neighborhood and was gunned down by people who felt very empowered to do exactly what they did. So I'm going to come at this from a different perspective. Yes, we can talk about whether they were wrong, and clearly they were, but I want to talk about some of the underlying issues of racism and racial biases and those kinds of things, and what we can do to minimize these kinds of occurrences in our lives. So the first thing I'll say is that there's a lot of racial profiling and stereotyping and bigotry and racial biases happening right under your nose. I'm not even going to go to the extent of saying that it's going to lead to a murder, but it'll lead to something. And so I want to talk about the stuff that we can identify with because it's happening right under our noses, because it's happening in our relationship. So I don't know how many black friends you have or brown friends you have, or how many white friends you have if you're a brown person, but I will say that there are many opportunities to address the underlying racism and bigotry and other kinds of isms that happen before they become murderous. And so let's just start with, I got a three-letter system that I'm going to be talking about in this quick conversation. Stop, say something, and stand. That's it. Stop, say something, and stand. So when you are in conversation, whether online or offline, on the phone, whatever, with your friends, and these are black people to black people, white people to white people, white to black, black to white, other, whatever the colors may be involved. When you hear something that is racially insensitive, stop. The biggest crime that most people commit is in allowing bigotry, racism, whatever other kind of ism there might be, allowing it to go. Stop in that conversation and say something, because your silence is complicit. Your silence looks like complicity. That's just the way it is. You can agree, you can disagree, I don't really care. If you don't say something, if you don't stop it in that moment, then you are as complicit as the person who's doing it. So when you are around your friends who are like you, and they say something that can ultimately lead to an act like we are seeing all over the country, why aren't you saying something? Why aren't you stopping it in the moment? I've talked about this a lot when I'm not even talking about race and gender and sexism. I just talk a lot on Facebook about standing up for something. When you hear someone saying something about someone that is not true or that is not productive, stop. Stop. I don't agree with that. That has not been my experience with that individual. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that's healthy. I believe that could lead to something more dangerous. I'm going to leave because this is not what I do. Any form of any of that works. And the reason I know it does, because it's what I do. And it's because it's what lots of people that I'm friends with do. Stop. But we're so ridiculously afraid of social isolation. We're so afraid that we're not going to be with the popular group. We're so afraid that we're not going to get to be groupies. We're so afraid we're not going to get to hang out with the people. Well, that's just a small part of them. They don't really say that a whole lot, but they're my friends. We're so afraid that we're going to get kicked out of the group that we just sit there and we listen to BS. We sit there and we listen to things that are harmful to people. We sit there and we can say when we get home and tell our husbands and wives, so-and-so it was terrible. It was so racist. It was so this. It was so sexist. It was so misogynist. It was so whatever. But when you were at the dinner party, you just sat there and ate your chips. You just sat there and ate your salad. You just sat there and, acted like it wasn't happening. Part of the reason our country is so jacked up is because people just sit there. Stop it in its tracks. Now, I am in no shape, form, or fashion asking you to put your life in danger. But a lot of what I'm saying is in the context of friendly conversation. If these people are your friends, then you should be able to say, you know what? That sounds a little racist to me, dude. Or that sounds racist to me, sis. Or that sounds stereotypical. Or whatever your words are. If you're in the friendly confines or the professional confines of whatever is happening, you should be able to say, you should have enough gumption to say, you know what, I'm going to excuse myself from this. Do what you want to do, but I don't want to be a part of this. But there are so few people who will do that. So few people who will say, you know what, not my thing. Carry on, but I'm not going to be a part of it. Or how about, listen, that's old way of thinking. It was never right. It ain't going to never be right. We need to stop that. We have to be better. Doesn't happen enough. Doesn't happen enough. And then we get so outraged on both sides. White people, black people, brown people, yellow, red, white, blue, whatever. We get so outraged when these things happen. And yet we have so many opportunities in our day-to-day interaction to minimize it, to squash it, to eradicate it. So, first thing you do, stop. Stop. Just stop it. When it's happening, stop. Don't be complicit. Don't be silent. Don't be a go-along. Happening all over the place. So stop. Number 2, say something. Say something. And sometimes you can say something by leaving. If you don't have the words to say, just leave. However you have to do it, say something. Because your voice missing is what's killing us, literally. Your missing voice is what's killing us, literally. Because you don't have the balls to say something. I don't care if you're mad. You don't have the balls to say something. And again, we're not even talking about when we get all the way to murder. We're talking about everyday conversation. We're talking about the things you do in your social settings when you're listening to people be absolutely terrible people, sometimes about people you know, love, respect, and you don't even say anything. That's just a small example of what happens in a professional setting. You hear people say things about people and you're just like, well, that's how she feels about it. Well, that's how you. No, stop and say something. You know what? That's not my experience of James. You know what? I've never had that experience. You know what? Sounds like you're bitter. Whatever you have to say to change the trajectory of the conversation, to change the direction of the conversation. Maybe you don't think it matters. It does. Because the problem with people who want to terrorize other people is that they get no resistance. They get no resistance from their own. That means sometimes black people are with black people saying things and everybody's just going along with it. No resistance. White people are saying things with their white people and they're just going along with it because you're with your kind, and it's okay if we say that about them when we're with each other. It's not. It's not. It perpetuates everything that we're talking about and that we're complaining about in society. So do I have real conversations with my black friends about being a black woman in America and about the concern I have for my nephews and my brothers? Absolutely. Candid, no fluff, no BS conversations. But guess what? The same things I say in my black circles and my brown circles, I actually say in my white circles. Ain't nothing changing. Nothing changing in the language, nothing changing in the content. It's the same. If it's wrong over here, it's wrong over here. If it's right over here, it's right over here. Does it make my black friends uncomfortable? Yes. Does it make my white friends uncomfortable? Yes. But if we're not going to be uncomfortable, we're never going to make progress. Because all progress lies outside of the comfort zone. Don't know who said that originally, but I love it. That is not a Fran Harris original, but I love it. All progress happens outside the comfort zone. So I'm holding us accountable just as much as I'm holding them accountable. And if they say something slick, believe me, they gonna hear about it. Trust and believe my white friends are hearing about it. The problem is we're having too many secret conversations. The problem is, as many of you have pointed out, When my white friends are with their white friends, they're not holding each other accountable most of the time that I'm aware of. I'm not with them because I just said it was my white friends with their white friends. So I'm not there. But based on what I've seen enough of going and being in those circles, they're not holding each other accountable at the level that needs to be held accountable. Because they're afraid of being ostracized by their own. That goes for both sides. If I speak out too loudly, if I just try to have a conversation about like, well, perhaps this is what happened. Oh, then you sticking up for them? No, I'm sticking up for what's right. Let's figure out what's right here. And then my white friends want to, oh, well, no, I didn't mean it that way. We're just talking. I'm not mad at you. We're just talking. And even if I am mad at you, we're friends. So if we're friends, we ought to be able to talk. Stop. Say something. And stand. Stand. I'm tired of hearing black folks and white folks, right, saying that they're outraged by what's happening in the world. But they haven't done a walk. They haven't gone to see their congressperson. They haven't stopped supporting businesses that are racist or bigots or whatever. You can't just stop and say something. You got to stand. You have to stand, make a stand. You got to do something meaningful, something radical to change what is happening in our country. And too many of us are too ready to get on Facebook and on social and have an opinion, but ain't gonna do nothing to stand. Do something. Do something. Do a 1 million person march. Do, a letter to somebody in your city government. Help that young man's mother. Do something that makes a difference. Us complaining about it on social does not do a whole lot unless there is a campaign and a strategy behind it. You want me to sign a billion person thing about the racism and the injustices against people of color in our country? Okay, that's doing something. But forwarding me a video that I'm not going to watch, by the way, because I don't want the images in my head of seeing that young man murdered, hunted down and murdered. I don't want that in my head. But if you want me to do something, it better be meaningful. It better be radical. And for some of you, the first radical thing you need to do is in your social circles, say something. You're too silent. My white friends are always talking about, well, what can I do? Say something. Don't just have these enlightened conversations with me. You need to have them when you're with your all white friends. And when I go to parties where I'm the only black person there, I'm not winning. In no way am I winning. And whenever I go to a party where I am the only whatever, fill in the blank, woman, athlete, black woman, whatever, I go, where are the other brown people? Where are the other women? Where are the other athletes? Where are the whatever groups I fit into? I'm constantly challenging the status quo. Y'all don't know any other white people. It's a problem that y'all don't know any other white people. Why are no white people here? Do we not invite the white people? Why are no black people here? We got to do better, but it's a critical word in that sentence. Do something. Stop, say something, and stand. Stop asking me what you can do. What you can do is all around you. And I may never know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing, and you know what you're not doing. You know what you're putting up with in your social settings. To eradicate racism or any kind of ism, it takes people on both sides of the issue. Doing your work in private. Doing your work behind closed doors. White people, if you want to help, say something to your white friends. When stuff is happening and when stuff is not happening. Have a conversation about these long-held beliefs and biases that you have and the damage that they are causing in our society. Black people, brown people, same thing. We have biases and long-held beliefs too. We have to challenge that as well. And if we don't like that we have become the hunted in this country, that we continue to be hunted down and treated a certain way, we have to get in the fight, engage, stop, say something, and stand. Do something. I'm sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. Stop complaining and get in the battle. Wage the war. Be a soldier in it. That's all.